So can somebody tell me how much we started out with in the beginning? Remember? $2,400. Now, how many of you think $2,400 I could live off of, but you know, I got to be conscious of my spending, right? You could live off of it. Every penny counts, right? Okay. So we're gonna keep talking about this a little bit. Let's give a hand for our volunteers up here. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, you guys can take your seats. Thank you. Now, the reason we did this exercise, I want you guys to take one and pass them down. Pass them back for me. The reason we did this exercise is not that I want you guys to focus on the fact of the dollars, okay? It's not that I want you guys to focus on the fact of the money. You guys might have to grab some from over there. Maybe take one and pass it back. It's the fact that I want you guys to start thinking about when we talked about what was important to you in your goals, okay? One of the goals is eventually, yep, the extra ones you guys can pass over here. One of your goals is that eventually you guys see yourselves moving out on your own, okay? So the reason we did this exercise is just to get you guys to start thinking about what that means. What are some of the responsibilities you might have, okay? It doesn't mean that if you make $2,400 or less that you can't be successful and you can't live off of that. You can, okay? It's just for you to start thinking, okay, if my goal is to become a physician, or if my goal is to go in the Air Force, okay? These are some of the things that even once I reach my goal, the responsibilities that I'm going to have and the things that I have to think about. Did you need one? I'm sorry. Now, the handout that I passed out deals a little bit with the activity that we just went through. If you look at the top, that was a $2,400 example that I gave to all of you, okay? Now, the one thing that we didn't talk about is if I give you $2,400, does that mean you actually take home $2,400? No, why not? Taxes. Somebody said that, taxes, okay? So that's, if you look at the center of the handout, that's what deals with the taxes and kind of shows you the breakdown. Now, what's really cool about this handout is that at the bottom, there's actually some examples of professions and occupations. And it gives you what the education level is that you need to be successful in that profession. And it also breaks out the monthly salary and the annual salary. Sorry. Okay? Now, does anybody have any questions about what we covered so far? Any questions? Okay. We're going to continue with our fun. Now, we talked about what was important to you, what your goals are. We talked about how much it costs to live, okay? Now, talking about all those different things, how many of you think what you're doing right now today, coming to Kenwood High School, is important and is going to affect your future? Raise your hands nice and high. So a good amount of you think that. Now, what if I stood up here and told you that, you know, when you set foot into Kenwood High School your freshman year, there's somebody keeping track of everything that you do. You said a stalker. Keeping track of everything that you do. Would you guys believe me? No, you wouldn't believe me? Yeah. Some would. What if I said they're actually documenting it? They are. Okay, so, it's cameramen. So for those that said that they're documenting it, what do you think that's called? There's actually a piece of paper. Permanent record. Okay, that is one name for it. There's actually a formal name that starts with a T. Transcript, exactly. How many of you guys have heard of a transcript? Okay. How many of you guys have seen what a transcript looks like? Some of you. Can you guys tell me what are some of the things that you find on a transcript or you see on a transcript? Your name. What else? Grades. Birthday. Anybody else? Social Security number. Okay. The days you were absent. That is very true. Okay. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm going to pass out 2 examples of a transcript. So everyone should have 2 transcripts, okay? So when you get them, you have to make sure you have a transcript for Pat and a transcript for Kelly, okay? All right, now that everybody has both of these transcripts, can you guys tell me what you guys see? Whether you completed your classes, okay? What else do you guys see?
When you pass your grades.
Pass your grades, okay? With subject. Now, what are the differences that you see between Pat and Kelly?
Kelly's really bombing in school.
She's bombing in school, okay. What else? What are some differences?
They have 1.5, I guess, total credits.
Total credits? Okay, who does?
Pat has 27.5 and Kelly has 26.
Okay, so Pat has more credits than Kelly. What else? Back in the back?
Pat goes to school more often.
She goes to school more often because there's attendance on it, right?
Yeah.
What about the types of classes? What types of classes is Pat taking?
Pat's taking honors and GT.
Right, honors and GT. Kelly is taking standard classes, right? What about extracurricular activities? Does anybody notice that goes on your transcript? Kelly. Over to the left-hand side. So Kelly doesn't have any extracurriculars, and Pat does, okay? Now, we pointed out that you see attendance, grades, types of classes, extracurriculars. Now, we're going to play another little game. We as a class are a company. That's my phone. Ignore the phone ringing. We are a company, an organization, okay? And we have to decide, we received an application from both Pat and Kelly, and along with that was their requested transcript, okay? Now, all we have in front of us is these two transcripts and an application. We have to decide who we want to bring in to interview. Not necessarily hire, but just to interview. Who, as a class, do you want to interview? I'm going to ask you to raise your hands. Who wants to interview Pat? Okay. Who wants to interview Kelly? You got a couple. Okay. Now, for those of you that want to interview Kelly, can you tell me why you chose Kelly?
I want to see why she's doing so bad.
You want to see why she's doing so bad. Okay. Anybody else? There's a couple other hands raised. Will?
It depends on like to where it is on her head. It looks like she's good in telemedia design. So if like I wouldn't try to hire her doing something with telemedia design, I would look at her because she got good grades in that.
Okay. Now, what about those that said they want to interview Pat? Why did you choose Pat?
Because it has a more percent
No, wrong.
of their total
Activities?
credits.
Credits? Because
Yeah.
she had more credits? Okay.
Yeah, and
Oh.
how many days that Pat missed?
Okay. So how many
'Cause
days
Kelly
you missed?
more than Pat.
Okay.
The GPA is like really good.
The GPA is really good. Okay, so it sounds like the people that wanted to interview Pat, it's just she made a better impression off of her transcript, right? Is that a safe assumption? Yeah. Right? We thought she made a better impression. Now, we are going to interview Pat. We based our decision off of a piece of paper. How many of you guys think that's fair? Raise your hands if you think it's fair that we just made a decision off a piece of paper. So a couple of you. How many of you think that it's not fair? Okay, a good amount of you. Well, my personal opinion, I don't necessarily think it's fair, but have you always heard somebody say, life isn't always fair? I'm sure you guys have heard people say that. Probably your parents have probably said that life isn't always fair. Well, it's true. The reality is that when you guys go out into the real world, when you're applying to colleges and universities, when you're applying for jobs, they're making decisions based off of the piece of paper. This piece of paper of Pat and Kelly creates a picture of these two individuals, okay? So employers, colleges, and universities are saying, okay, here's a picture that I have. Now let me decide whether this is the type of person I want into my school or my organization. It may not be fair, but that's the first step in, okay?